Hello, hi everyone, and welcome to this week's training, how to rise above the chaos. I'm so excited to get into this one today. Thank you all so much for your patience. I had little men running around, like not wanting to leave the space this morning. There's still quite a bit of ash outside, but I really let the boys go outside now and have a really good time. But I think that they have gotten so accustomed to really being with us and really being in the space now that Ocean's like, no, I think I'll just hang out here with you, mummy. So sometimes I would let him, come into these trainings. But today I just knew, there would be handstands on the desk and all the fun things. So that was a bit of fun. So hello and welcome. As you're coming in, please just pop into the comments. Woo, we're a wild child today, here in all my rawness, just showing up for you. So as you're coming in all your rawness, just pop into the comments where you are coming in from, and how you're feeling today. How is today for you? How is your day? Maybe just put one word in there, how you are showing up today, how you are feeling today. So welcome. And let's just dive straight in today. So how to rise above the chaos. We will do a meditation at the end. If the kids come back in, well, that might happen, and so thank you for just being with me in all the reality. So it has been an interesting couple of weeks, as you guys know, here on St. Vincent. So the volcano is technically, it's still erupting, but we haven't had an eruption in about, is it 2 days now, I think. So life, we've found our way back to some kind of normality in some ways, but there are still, plenty of people without water and some without homes, and there is a lot going on and there's a lot to navigate. Hence why I really wanted to show up as I'm navigating through all of this. I really wanted to show up so that we can work together and move together and just share with you as well what I'm going through, and you guys can share with me what you're going through as well. Yeah, it's better than yesterday. That's always a positive. I love that. Hi, welcome as you are coming in. So great. Awesome. So, we here on the island, so there has been some level of normality. I'm still getting, a lot of messages from people who are still doing it really rough. We have, now access to water and, the essentials, which is amazing. We're still out on the ground. There are still so many things to do. There's so much rebuilding that is going to come after this. So we continue our Mums and Bubs initiative here on the island, really just getting those basic essentials to people that are in need. And we now have some support with distribution and things like that. So we're starting to get a bit more organized, a bit more of organized chaos now. So just in sharing with you, everything that's been happening around us here. So at this time, and certainly this has been an amazing reminder for me over the last 3 weeks that this has been going on, is the importance of us really showing up for us and really looking after ourselves, especially when we're taking care of others. And I know that there's so much around this, especially as women. There's so much around, extending ourselves and really giving everything to the point of depletion. This is just so normal, or has been normalized in society. And so we really want to shift that. We really want to turn it around, and we really want to make sure that we are looking after ourselves so that we can step up and do more. And it is amazing how much more clarity we have, how much more white space, how much more energy, and how much more power we can really stand in when we're doing what needs to be done, for us first. So it's been a great reminder for me, and just a great reminder for all of us, that once our own cups are full, there is so much more than we can bring to the world, right? So how to rise above the chaos. And I have some questions for you guys as we go as well. Yes. No water yesterday for you. Oh, okay. So happy you're feeling better this morning. We are just, we're navigating a really, really interesting time on the planet, and we are navigating an interesting time on this tiny island. There are so many other people and countries that are also going through similar circumstances, and it might be you as well. You may actually be going through something right now in your life that you want to go through this training with us as well to see if you can just shift. So let's dive in. Many of you in the group and in the Rejuvenate program as well are really stepping up. So you're taking yourself, your life to the next level. You're doing the new, right? You're really stepping in. You're really beginning to live more from your authentic self and to make decisions more from your authentic self. So let's just celebrate that for a minute, because there are so many of you that I'm talking with all the time, and you've already made such drastic changes in your life. You've already made just had such incredible results just from shifting into your authentic self more and more and more. So you're shifting, you're lifting, you're changing, you're growing, you're expanding. And this training is for all of you, for every single one of you who is choosing to move forward, to continue taking these baby steps despite the chaos or despite what might be happening externally or around you. You're still taking steps to create epic change in your own life. So let's celebrate that. Let's just really breathe that in for a minute, because you guys are stepping up. You guys are moving forward, and you're continuing to do that, even though sometimes it feels like, I was on a call this morning with a friend and she said, sometimes it feels like I'm stepping forward and I'm making great leaps, and then I just come straight back to where I am. And, I said, there's no way that you will ever go back to where you were, right? And that it's sort of, instead of it looking like this, it actually looks like this, and we're climbing even though we don't know. So let's talk about that for a minute. So as we're all, expanding and growing, there's this beautiful, sometimes not so beautiful feeling, ebb and flow. There are highs and lows. There's what feels like good and bad. And we are always forever having to really navigate this. And that's energy, right? Like, that's fact. We know that. That's what life does. It keeps moving. It keeps rolling. So in saying that, even if sometimes we feel like we're stuck, if we look a little bit closer, often there is still movement and there's still growth happening, even though in the moment it may not feel like it. So we'll talk about like those chaotic feelings. Last week, I shared that sometimes we are all up here. And I felt when the volcano erupted here for the first time, I felt like my husband and I just went from here and we just went vroom. We just started to operate, from this place. And so we were all in our heads. We just were, frantically trying to figure things out. And I've found that as the weeks have gone by, there's been a little bit of that. There's in people around me and myself as well included, in that there's been a little bit of like grounding, and then there's been some more of like all up here and frantic and like chaos and in the hurricane. And so we've been feeling, when we're in that state, we feel all the conditioned self feels, right? And where we really want to be is down here. And I was sharing that last week, and how I actually grabbed my husband, and that was, I think, the second day after the volcano erupted here. I grabbed him and I said, let's meditate. And he looked at me like, are you crazy? Like, we have so much to figure out right now. We really need a round table and about 45 men, right? And women. And I was like, let's meditate. And so we sat down and we did. And, we just came down. And once we did that, it was amazing just how many answers just started to come. We finished our meditation, we looked at each other and we just smiled, and we knew, we've got this. And the answers are all there. And so we really want to be here. I really want you guys to live more here, or start living more in this space, even when, the chaos, the external stuff is happening. And so we want to be, more grounded. We want to feel more connected. We want to feel more in our power. We want to be moving from our authentic self to help us navigate through these shifts, can I call it, or through these times. So go ahead and just pop into the comments today. A few of you guys may have some things going on in your own life already. So if there's something that's going on for you, and it may just be, Marissa, I'm in survival mode. Can you guys see me okay? I didn't even look at my screen before I pressed live today. It may just be, Marissa, I'm in survival mode. Marissa, it's just chaos. Like I just feel like I'm kind of in that hurricane or in that cyclone. Or it may be something specific, this just happened, or this is happening, or someone is, projecting something onto me, or that I'm having difficulty navigating around, or something has happened. So go ahead and pop it into the comments. What is it that you are currently navigating that feels a little bit chaotic? Because the conditioned self is always going to have something going on. So just sharing it in the comments. And today we're going to shift it. We're going to move through 5 ways that we can actually shift it. And I said rise above the chaos because it can all be kind of happening at this, on this other level. And then we can, really just start operating from this place of clarity and grounding as well. The meditations have been keeping me grounded and focused. Awesome. Okay, Tori, hi Tori. Global pandemic wedding planning. How about that? Never thought you'd write that in a million years, right? Yes, girlfriend. Huge, huge stuff. Wedding planning on a normal day. So really just breathing that in. My daily routines got jumbled up. Yes. So, remember we did the trainings on the morning routines and the evening routines and the power of these. And sometimes I know, maybe we can have too many tasks for us to do in our morning and evening routines, but having 1 or 2 that are non-negotiables can be so powerful. So you were saying, your meditations are really getting you through. And it's just touching on a couple of these things too. But imagine, we have these routines, we have these things set in place because we know we can go to them, and all of a sudden they're just taken from us, or they're all feel like it's all jumbled up. Our days are all jumbled up. So what can we do? We're going to talk through these 5 ways. We're going to dive into embodiment, really being in our body. We're going to dive into the breath a little bit. We're going to dive into those triggers that we talked about last week as well. And the really good news is that it only takes very often only a few little action steps, to start climbing out of that well that sometimes we can feel like we're in, this well of chaos, right? So no matter what is going on for you today, no matter what you're navigating in daily life, it all relates. This training is for you. And it might not even show up as something, as big as wedding planning during a global pandemic. It may just be that you show up feeling low, that you have low energy. It might be something small that you're going through that you feel is small, but actually it's taking its toll on you. It may be that you are on the brink of a burnout, right? Last week we talked about that fly fall effect that can happen. It may be that you are on the brink of a burnout, or it may be that you're completely wiped, you're completely burnt out and you're showing up here today and you're looking for a lift, please get me out to take you back up. So for me, you can hear the donkeys in the background. For me, I have this really high, and I can go from high power, high motivation, high productivity, high energy, to completely burnt out in a matter of hours. And so for me, it is really last week, as we talked about boundaries and you guys said, yes, I need to set more boundaries. Did you guys set a boundary? If you've already written it in the last video in the comments, don't worry, just leave it there. But I really wanted to know, did you set a boundary and what happened? What happened? So let's move through these 5 ways that we can really rise above the chaos and to really shift and move out of these feelings that you might currently be in, these things that are happening. You know, it might feel chaotic, you might feel a little bit frazzled. So the first thing, and we touched on this a little bit already, but is embodiment. We talked about being all up here and how we really want to be here, to be moving from this really grounded state. And there's science to this, right? Like when we are in our physical bodies, we are connected. We're more connected. We're more in tune with our emotions, with what's going on for us. We're more present. We're more grounded. We are less scattered, right? We're less frantic. We are less, we have less of those involuntary responses to situations, right? We're more patient. We're more loving. We're more loving with ourselves. We're more loving with others. So think of it this way. If we love our body, right, our physical body, our physical self, our vessel, this beautiful body that we've been given to run it with in this life, then we want to be in it, right? It would only make sense that we want to be in it, that we want to be in our body. So what happens many times is so many of us actually unconsciously choose to disconnect from our bodies for various reasons. I'll dive into that in a whole another training. But in doing that, like in really finding this disconnect, we lose our footing. We lose our clarity and we start living our life in survival mode. So as soon as we feel like those things are starting to happen again, and for me, it's like getting frustrated really easily. It's forgetfulness is a big one. I start feeling really scattered, really not focused. I don't have the clarity that I usually have. And so as soon as we feel those triggers are coming, and we're going to talk about those triggers in a little minute, as soon as we feel like those triggers are coming to the surface, we want to think, am I in my body? Where am I right now? If I'm all up here, I need to come back. I need to come back to my body. And so the second way that we can really, rise above the chaos is by using our breath. And so we can use our breath to come back into our body. We can use meditation. We can use breath work. We can use healing sessions in the Rejuvenate program. You guys get free healing sessions with me, where that is like one of the huge components of the healing sessions, is to really find what needs to be healed and release it at a cellular level. And so we're having these physical shifts in our body. And so that's what we want. We want a physical shift. Now for you today, it might mean going and doing a cartwheel, or, moving your body in a certain way that's different to how you normally move it. We want to shift. And so for many of us, when we're in our conditioned self, we're often in our left brain, or that left brain way of thinking. Many times that can mean that we're in fight, flight mode, or that our fight, flight responses are very, very active. So we want to do something that mixes things up. And I'll tell you, I used to work with anxiety patients a lot, and we used to use tools that would allow them to shift from left brain to right brain. And it could be something as easy as using your left hand or your non-dominant hand to turn off and on light switches in your house for a day or 2 days. So just finding some way to come back to your body and to really use your body in a new, engaging way that is likely going to help shift the way that your brain is operating as well, and nervous system. So go ahead and pop into the comments, what is one thing that you could do today to really be in your body and to really remember that you're in this vessel, right? Because sometimes it's so easy to disconnect and then let our thoughts kind of take us for a ride or take us on this journey. So grateful for people staying in touch. Feels like I'm not alone. Yes, absolutely. So go ahead and pop into the comments. What can you do to really be in your body today and to do something different? So this is not, I'm going to do my yoga, I'm going to do my normal exercise routine. This is, I'm going to do something different today with my body. And what is it going to be? And so then we're talking about the breath. And so there's some really super new and interesting science around the breath that we are now using within the program. And so researcher James Nestor, he's a really fun guy to follow, you know, to really learn about the evolution of our breath as humans. He even has a new book out. It's called Breath. I think it's actually called Breath. Maybe Rebecca, maybe you could find that and pop it into the comments for us, please. So questioning yourself, how am I breathing? Does your tummy rise every single time you breathe, or only when you sit down to breathe, you know, consciously in meditation, or when you're doing your yoga or something like that? Are your breaths generally long, or are they short? When we're in our conditioned self or we're in fight flight mode, we usually do one of two things, right? We usually either start breathing really, really fast, or we hold our breath completely. And if you think about how many times we're actually, as a society, walking around, you know, breathing in our conditioned self, if we think about how much of a person's day is taken up with conditioned self-activation. Just the third way that we can really rise above the chaos is to know your trigger intimately. So a really good example is just then when the internet went, and I want to say it's the cord again, but it was the first time it was ocean with the cord. I know that. So I don't exactly know what happened the second time, but I could have like just totally lost my stuff. And I think in the past I would have been like, why? Nothing's working for me. I'm not supported, you know, all of these things. And this time I was like, I just laughed and I was like, Marissa, that's what you get for talking about chaos, right, on your trainings. And I just laughed. And so this is probably the first 3-part training we've ever had in the group, and I apologize for the inconvenience. I'm going to piece it all together for you into one video for the replays. But it's awesome chaos, right? Like I get to come back on with you guys. So thank you so much. So the third way, you know, to really rise above the chaos is to really know and understand our triggers. And so to know your triggers intimately. I knew as soon as that, you know, disconnect happened with the computer, my conditioned self said to me, oh no, like, what are you doing to these people? This is terrible. This can't be like this. What did you do, Marissa? You know? And my authentic self immediately stepped in, and my wise, loving adult immediately stepped in and said, you know what, this is kind of out of your control, right? So we're going to talk about control in a minute. This is kind of out of your control. You can't take it back. You can't change that, but you could look forward, you know, you could find a learning in it and then take it to the group. So you want to know your trigger intimately, so intimately that you can talk to it, you know, and say, I understand what you're feeling right now, conditioned self. I understand how frustrating this can feel for you when you are so tied to perfection, but can we just be raw? Like, can we just be real? Can we just show up the way that we are and with whatever happens? And so understanding and knowing your triggers intimately, like you want to be best friends with it, right? Or you want to be almost mothering with it sometimes. And so for me, let's go back to this, you know, feeling all up here, wanting to get grounded. For me, the scattered, you know, this feeling of being scattered, this out of body experience that we just talked about, frustration happens at myself, at others, maybe the computer. this inner critic thoughts, I'm not good enough, all of this sort of stuff tends to happen. So it's so important to know our triggers, to know that when that stuff comes up for you, it is just you navigating. It is just you navigating. Like I said to my friend on the phone this morning, you were just driving through the town, babe. You are just driving through the town. You are not stopping. You're not going to stop at that cafe. You're not going to park your car in the car park. You're certainly not taking your bags to live there. You are just driving through, honey. And we are just driving through. And so we're noticing what's going on outside of us. We're noticing the chaos, and it's fine to notice the chaos, but we still keep going anyway. So it's so important to know our triggers so that we can understand and that we can just keep driving, just keep driving through the town. So last week I had you guys think about, what happens when you are going into burnout? What happens right before you're going into burnout? And so we want you to be able to catch yourself every single time this happens. Every single time you are almost about to go into burnout, you are almost about to go into overwhelm. So you can bring yourself back through embodiment, through breathing, through any of the techniques that you learn in here. So what happens to you? Go ahead and pop that into the comments. What happens to you right before you're going to go into burnout, or right before you're going to go into, I call it an adult tantrum sometimes with the kids. My girlfriend said to me, how many tantrums have you had this week? Because she has twins, and they were 3-year-old twins at the time. And I said, oh, we've only had one, and it was only for about 3 minutes. And she said, wow, that's amazing that your kids only have like 3-minute tantrums. I was like, that was the adult that I was talking about. So we want to know before this happens. We want to know before, we respond. We want to know those triggers so that we can really just shift before we go into this burnout, this overwhelm, or some involuntary response. And so the fourth way is, let's say we are in burnout already, because some of you are, and you've been messaging me, and you're stuck. You feel stuck. You want to know how to get out. How do I get out? I've been all up here, and now I've just crashed, Marissa. Total burnout, total downer. Want to know how to lift those bars, those metal bars from the mental. And often we feel this way because we feel unsafe, because we feel out of control. And so the question is, if you're feeling stuck, the question is, what am I trying to control? What am I keeping so packed, so tightly that I'm unable to let go the reins of something that really doesn't feel good? What is it? Is it even possible to control this? Like, sometimes it's completely out of our control, right? Is it valid? Is it something valid to hold on to? Or is it okay for me to just let it go? And then the fifth way that we can really, rise above the chaos, you are on that path right at the moment. Yes. All right. And so, remembering, the fifth way is really remembering your support. Okay, so we talked last week, going within for the answers, or setting that boundary that you talked about last week that you really know you need to do, but you haven't done yet. Taking that time to journal, going within, really letting yourself feel the things that really don't feel great, so that they can be released through tears, through whatever means it is for you. Meditate. Do what you need to do. Set reminders for yourself, right? So the last question is, when do you feel most supported? When do you feel most supported? And that's your answer right there for what you need to do today. When do you feel most supported? And so certainly for me, when I'm reaching that point, I am not doing the things. I am not finding the ways to be supported. So whether that is asking my husband for help, or it is looking after my physical body, or it is just making sure that I'm in my physical body and that I'm not all floating up in the air, that I need to let go of some things that are outside of my control, that I need to just do a bit more of, like, have a bit more alone time so that I can actually process the things that are going on for me. that I just need to pull back a little bit? What is it that you need to do to be supported? What is it that when do you feel the most supported? And what is it that you can bring into your day today? This is your answer for now. Yes. And it can be so easy, right? Just to stop doing the things that support us the most when we're feeling like we're a little bit overwhelmed or we have some anxiety going on. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this 3-part training and the beautiful ocean's appearance. So I just love you guys to bits. I will be back here next Tuesday. We have some epic trainings, more epic trainings coming, and we have exciting news with another workshop coming up, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We have some beautiful meditations in the lead up to that workshop, so please join us for that. I love you guys. I will see you in the group. Have an amazing day. See you guys.